live in a second. All right. So I think,
Got it.
yeah, we're good. Go ahead and get started.
Well, thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. Again, my name is Matt Kalwasinski, one of the board members, treasurer of Dunes-Calumet Audubon Society. And so let me share my screen here and talk today. A little program is to talk about birding, basically summer birding at Kankakee Sands, which is in Newton County. If you actually look at a map, Newton County is fairly much of a rectangle. And this is basically smack dab in the middle to me of Newton County. And I'm up in northern Lake County, and I would just go US 41 straight down. And it's right off of US 41. And so we're going to talk about basically summer birding, basically June and July. If you were to go to Kankakee Sands tomorrow or Saturday, what do you expect, what to see, and maybe kind of some suggestions on how to bird the property. Now, the property's pretty big. If you look there, all the little green lettered units, they'll call those units like Unit E, Unit F, and so forth, but all in green. That essentially encompasses Kankakee Sands. And they kind of say it's about 8,400 acres of wetlands and prairies. And for most of us, if you're going to go there, you're going to see the prairie aspect. There are wetlands. There are probably more wetlands than what this map would even show you, but you got to have to kind of get into the middle of these units, which is restricted access and so forth, but they're there. And so a lot of your wetland birds and different ducks and bitterns and great blue herons are in the area. But for the average birder like myself, when I go down there, it's prairie. And that's kind of what you're looking for. And I'll come back to this map at the end as we kind of go over, again, some suggestions. But it's a very unique property, especially for Northwest Indiana. Yes, we have Reynolds Creek game bird habitat in Porter County, but you just don't have this kind of property, this kind of access and, protected property, protected prairies. And so for a lot of these species that we're going to be talking about today, it's hard to find. Okay. And so this is, again, just a little snapshot here. And as you can see right smack in the middle, there's US 41. And so if you're coming down from Lake County, you just follow US 41 and then you just come to it. So it'd be technically west of I-65, if you will, there. Now, my focus today are kind of these specialty birds, and these are not specialty birds. But I threw this slide, this little collage together, because my thought is, yeah, I'm talking about really about 18 different specialty species when you get down to Kankakee Sand, but there's a lot of birds to see. And so if you were to go there tomorrow or again this weekend, you're going to see your red-winged blackbirds up here. You're going to see tree swallows and brown-headed cowbirds and different swallows, be it barn swallows and tree swallows and song sparrows and this cool-looking indigo bunting is bluebird. But as I said, there are wetlands that really are not seen by the naked eye. And so you'll have your mallards flying over. You'll have potentially blue-winged teal and great blue heron. I know there's nesting sandhill cranes along with some killdeer. So it's a wide variety of species. Again, if you were to go down there, I'm just focused on the specialty species, but it's a great place to go. So let's focus on these specialty species here. And to me, it all starts with these two. And you have a dickcissel there on the left. That is a male dickcissel. And then you have an eastern meadowlark here on the right. And what I mean by it all starts here, the first time you go to Kankakee Sands, it can be overwhelming because it's a very sound-oriented place. It's not a place where you're going to take a lot of trails, although they do have some trails. It's mainly a driving location. You go there, you drive the road, you stop at these little parking lots, and you listen. Now, will you see birds? Yes, you're going to see birds. But what it comes down to is you're going to hear first, and then you got to find that bird. And so again, it can be overwhelming. But if I look at it, it starts with these two big ones here. They are common. They are all over. And so my goal today is to kind of just briefly give you some of these sounds that you're going to hear. You're not going to learn them all today. That's not the goal here. But to say, hey, if I'm going to go down to Kankakee Sands, what does a dickcissel sound like? What does the eastern meadow sound like? And then you could say, well, that's something different, and what is that? And I tried for what I can is to give you some mnemonics. And, mnemonics, they're a funny thing because you got to find your own thing. People have all their own mnemonics, and what may work for you doesn't work for me and vice versa. So these are what kind of work for me. If you have your own mnemonic and it works, that's great. The first one here is a dickcissel. And as you can see here, kind of the mnemonic, like the name, it's dick, dick, sis, sis, sis. And so I'll play you a little clip here. This first one seems to be a little quiet here, but hopefully you can hear it as it kind of goes in. But you're listening for this dick, dick, sis, sis, sis. And hopefully you can hear that. If it doesn't, Matt Gillespie, please let me know. But though they're going to be perched everywhere. They're going to be perched on fences, posts, signs, and you're just going to hear them well before you ever see them. But they're out in the open. They're not a secretive bird. You're going to hear them singing. And then the other one is an eastern meadowlark, a bigger bird than a dick sissel. And for this one, you'll hear it kind of like see you, see here. And so see if you can hear that mnemonic.
Eastern meadowlark.
And so again, if you were going to go, my suggestion for right off the get-go would be try to get these two sounds in your head. Because once you can eliminate these, which are all over, they're perched, they're out in the open, you can see these birds, it'll be definitely to your benefit as you then eliminate other species. Now, when we talk about eastern meadowlark here, another bird that you potentially could see, it's not as common, is a western meadowlark. And western meadowlark, sometimes they are actually in Porter County, but even in other parts, I've heard them at Kankakee Sands before, in different parts of Newton County. Western meadowlark, the ranges overlap. It's not a perfect little line, eastern and western or anything like that. They do overlap a little bit. And I would always suggest for even birder like myself is, in the field, they look different now. You got the eastern, you got a little more, definitely yellow. It definitely looks different, but in the field, when birds are 25, 50 yards away, it's hard to see these, little minute differences here. So I would always suggest, sound. If you're going to say that, oh, I heard a western meadowlark in Newton County, you definitely want to make sure that you heard that bird versus a visual here. And so to remind you here, so here's that eastern meadowlark. And the best part is they sound completely different. And so if you can find a bird and all of a sudden there's no distinguishing between these two. So here's that eastern meadowlark again, that C-U-C here.
Eastern meadowlark.
And then you got the western meadowlark, and someone told me this, I didn't make this up, but it definitely sounds, it's a good mnemonic, R2-D2 from Star Wars. And I have here Sleep Blue Liddy with the dot, 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 meaning it just goes on. But I think to me, it sounds like R2-D2 from Star Wars. So see if you hear that too.
Western meadowlark.
So again, is it possible? Yes, it's possible. But, again, if you're going to make that, to me, you make that distinction, you definitely want to hear that bird versus base it on a visual representation, but they're unique. So if you see something, you hopefully want to call. But so they're out there. It's not a perfect thing. And so let's get to now more of the specialty species. Okay, so those two you'll see out in the open.
Eastern
they're
meadow.
out. Now the next one is a northern bobwhite. Yes, these birds can be perched. I've had them perched on fence posts and trees, but you're probably going to hear it well before you ever see it. And to me, it's a real treat to see a northern bobwhite. The good thing about this one here, you have a male here on the left, a female on the right, is that the sound sounds like Bob White. And I even kind of put this mnemonic, because there's like a pause, Bob White. And so you'll hear it. It's very distinct. It sounds nothing like anything else.
Northern bob white.
And so they have some other sounds here, but that's the classic that Bob White. And again, you may be lucky to see one perched or something, but you're probably going to hear it. They're probably going to be down in the grasses. But every so often, if you can find it, you hear it. But you're listening for that Bob White, which is pretty distinctive there. Another cool bird is a bobolink. The male bobolink here is on the left, and the female immature male type bird will be on the right. And this is an interesting one here because they actually give their song in flight. And so this distinctive, and when you see a bobolink, I mean, it's a jet black bird. You got these little white patches on the wing, but then you'll see that yellow on the nape of the bird in the back there, back of the neck, if you will, the nape. But they actually sing their little song in flight. So you'll see them fluttering in the grasses and different things. They're going to flutter, they're going to fly across and then land in the grasses. So I have, only a handful of times really seen them perched very often. They can be secretive, but they do fly. And when they're flying, they're making that call. No good mnemonic for this one that I've ever learned. But as you can see here, I put it's kind of a cheerful, bubbly warble. And the key thing is it's given in flight. So let's take a listen to a bobolink.
bobolink,
So again, and kind of robotic sounding, maybe not like R2D2 per se as a Star Wars, but it's definitely got that kind of robotic sound, if you will. But again, you'll see them in flight as they fly across, and that's a pretty good specialty species that you're hoping to see if you go to Newton County.
bobolink,
Now a grasshopper sparrow. Now the birds that we've kind of looked at before are fairly larger birds. I mean, a dickcissel, it's kind of a cardinal shape there. Meadowlark's kind of like a robin, blue jay, if you will. Bobwhite's a pretty good sized bird. But now your grasshopper sparrow is a small bird. But the good thing about a grasshopper sparrow is they like to sing out in the open. And so as small as they are, and if you even look for field marks, they're pretty indistinct kind of bird, not a whole lot of field marks that you're looking for, but they like to, sit on the little, the lines on posts, and they will sing. And the good thing about this one is it sounds like a grasshopper, hence the name there. So you hear this kind of mnemonic of kip, kip, z, and it's got this idea of a grasshopper. But again, small, but fortunately they will perch for you. Here's a grasshopper sparrow. Especially that second part that really sounds kind of like that grasshopper sound there, but they can be found, and they're, again, it's definitely, they're around and perched, but they're a small little bird there. Then you have this another small bird called a Henslow sparrow. Now this one is pretty secretive, and you definitely are going to hear this bird before you see it. Yes, I've had them perched, and they can be perched. But typically, where that grasshopper sparrow is on the fence, loud and proud, look at me, I'm singing, the Henslow sparrow is in the grasses, and the call is not much. If you can see there, it's going to sound like to slick. That's all it is. So they will perch, but as you're driving around, you're like, what I just hear there? Here's what it sounds like. And that's all that call is. And that's what you're listening for. And so as you're driving down those roads, you're just trying to go slow and steady. And you just got the windows down, trying to listen for that little slick. And you get out and maybe it will pop up and perch for you a little bit there. A cool bird, if you're looking for there in Newton County, Kankakee Sands, is a lark sparrow, very distinguished looking bird there with those black and brown on the facial patterns here. Now this one, I look at the picture, and actually the picture is a good representation of where I would find the lark sparrow. Typically on the ground, kind of gravel, sand, if you will. I mean, they're not, and I'll show you a place where you could find them fairly easily, but I like to find them on the gravel roads. As you're driving these gravel roads, right on the edge of the road is typically where I find a lark sparrow. So I'm not finding them in a tree per se. I'm not finding them in the, perched on a fence post or anything, but they're typically on the ground, which is, again, this kind of sand, kind of gravel. No real mnemonic. You hear it's kind of a long, pleasant bubbling sound. I don't hear it call a lot, but you definitely see it because as you're driving, oh, what's that ahead of you in the road? Oh, there's a lark sparrow on the ground.
lark sparrow,
And again, but I think to me is that you're just looking on the ground, kind of an open field, but like more rocky kind of gravel stuff there. Then you have a blue
lark
grosbeak
sparrow,
looking for. And this is a pretty sought after species that people are going down to Kankakee Sands. They're really hoping for a blue grosbeak. The male, obviously a beautiful bird there on the left, and the female, undertone, but it's a cool looking bird there. Immature male would look like this too. Now it's amazing though, this bird it's a grosbeak, so it's a good size, like a cardinal, a rose-breasted grosbeak. It's that big kind of husky bird there. They're tough to find. I mean, although they're singing and they like to sing in a tree. So yeah, you might get lucky to see it perched in the open. But more often than what I found them, they've been in a tree singing away. And it's amazing how they blend in. It's like you cannot find them, but you hear them. And you're going to listen for this kind of husky warble, but you're looking for it there, especially again in the trees around the area, which I'll show you a couple spots. So again, you're listening for that kind of warble there, but it's a cool bird when you see one. Definitely that male, that blue bird there. A bird that you're also looking for is a ring-necked pheasant. These are introduced species here, but the ring-necked pheasant they do breed down there. They're accepted species and so forth. The male, very distinguished there on the left, and the female on the right. Again, both these pictures actually give you a pretty good indication of where you're going to find these birds. Although they sing all over the place, but often when you're driving, there's a couple farm fields and different, as you can see with this female, these low grasses. They love to be out in the open, sometimes kind of feeding there, walking around, sometimes in pretty good groups, not just pairs, but that you can see, 8 of them together and so forth. So typically, again, when you're driving, you're looking for open fields, low grasses, looking for these birds. But again, it's amazing how even a male with this distinct colors here could blend in, and you could drive right by him in a field, never see him. But their call is very distinctive. It is see caw caw, and it's once you hear it, it's definitely what it is a ring-necked pheasant. Here you go. So definitely that caw caw right at the beginning there. You hear that, you hear them, as you drive down the roads. And if you just stop in a parking lot and sit, you'll hear them well before you see it. But again, open fields with that one. Back to a smaller bird here called a Bell's Vireo. Bell's Vireo, when you go down there, you're definitely another breeding species that we don't typically get up here in Lake and Porter County. And it's very kind of indistinct looking bird. The picture shows very good yellow, but when you do see it, it's just kind of a simple looking bird, but it's got a cool song. Now these birds, these Bell Vireo, these you're looking for bushes. You're looking for definitely some vegetation, not necessarily tall trees, but yet on these, different spots around Kankakee Sands, they got these, here's a group of bushes here, a group of vegetation there. And that's where you're listening for these Bell's Vireo. And so you'll see it's kind of a two-parter here, zeedle, 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 zoo, like a question, and then zeedle, 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 z. It's kind of what you're listening for here. So take a listen. A very scratchy, I had a mourning dove singing at the beginning of the clip, but definitely a scratchy kind of sound there. But again, very distinctive sound. Once you hear it, you're like, that's, it doesn't sound like a whole lot of other things there. A bird that has a lot of different sounds is a yellow-breasted chat. Interesting bird here. This used to be kind of lumped into the warbler family, if you will, in the warbler classification, but now it's its own little, I believe it's the only bird in its own family. If you kind of look at the genus and species, how things are broken down, it's been kind of separated all by its lonesome there. And that's a yellow-breasted chat. Again, a bird that sometimes it's hard to see. They'll be in thick vegetation, thick trees, if you will, singing away. To me, it's kind of like think of if you know what a northern mockingbird, catbird, brown thrasher, these birds that just have all these unique sounds. And so I just put a couple mnemonics here, but it's random. I mean, you'll hear it here. You'll hear some of these chir, 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 and toot, 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 and you'll hear it, but like it's just a bird just making up a bunch of different sounds here. Yellow-breasted chat. But you think it, and it's got more. It's just it's interesting. But again, it's another kind of blue grosbeak where it's in a tree. You hear it calling, you hear it singing, but it can be tough to find. But it's a pretty good sized bird. It's bigger than it's typically a warbler. It's a pretty good sized little, house sparrow type sized bird, if you will, maybe a little bigger than that. Field sparrow. Field sparrow, small little indistinct bird. They're little pink bills. You can see a little, almost can kind of see the white eye ring there. These, I probably could lump them with the dickcissel and eastern meadowlark. Kind of keep, maybe the top three birds. Like keep this in mind. Once you hear this one, you could eliminate a bunch of them. You'll hear these all over. There are a few places you can see them perched, but for most part, they're vocal and they like to sing and they keep going. And one of the best, even about the mnemonic, is it does sound to me like a bouncing ball. Someone told me that, and it does, especially at the very end. It's going to go chee 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 chee, and it sounds like just a bouncing ball going. And so, especially the second part of the song, you want to listen to have a bouncing ball. It's pretty distinctive here. So here's a field sparrow, which again, singing all over the place. And so, like I said, I would put that with the other two, the eastern meadowlark dickcissel, is that you're going to hear. Again, you can see them. Now, these birds are actually up here. If you go to, the Miller Woods area and different places, like you'll hear these too, but it's definitely a bird you're going to hear a lot down there in Newton County. Eastern kingbird, definitely a bird of the prairies. Again, we have them here up north in Lake and Porter County, but it's a flycatcher, and to me, that's the big thing. The song to me is secondary. I've heard eastern kingbirds sing, but you're going to see them perched. They're not shy birds. They're big birds. You can see this kind of black gray with this white, and then you're going to see these definitely tail, these white wing tips. But because they're a flycatcher species, they love to be on a perch. They'll go out, catch a fly, come back. That's maybe not the same as perch, but they're all very active, very flying around. Definitely not a shy bird. I'll play you the call. It's kind of this kitter, but to me, you'll see this bird perched quite often around Kankakee sands. But here's the sound.
Eastern kingbird.
So again, but to me, you're looking for the sound or the flying around the white wing tips here. Pretty bird you'll easily see there in Kankakee sands. Orchard oriole here. Now there are Baltimore orioles down there, but I know if someone's going to go down to Kankakee sands, Baltimore is a great bird to see, but you're hoping probably for an orchard oriole, this more of the, again, prairie bird. And it's a very unique bird because of the different plumages. The adult male, breeding male, is this bird here that's kind of rusty orange and black. And then you have your female here in the upper right. But then this bird here in the lower right with the kind of the black bib there, that's actually a first-year male. I've got a kind of first summer. So this is that bird that was actually born previous year. Now it's in its first summer. Here I am, and I'm on my own, and it won't kind of get to this breeding plumage until it's really kind of second year there, if you will. Of second summer, if you will. But it's, again, a bird like a blue grosbeak. It's going to be in a tree, and it's loud, it's vocal. As I can see, I have no real mnemonic, but it's just kind of warbling, wide pitch range, higher than other orioles. But again, you got to hear it and go, now I got to find it. It's in this tree. Now can I get my binoculars on and find this bird? So here's what it sounds like.
Orchard oriole.
And as you can hear, lots of different sounds there with that orchard oriole that you're hoping to hear, and then hopefully see that cool looking bird there. Last few.
Orchard.
This one, I put willow flycatcher because you're going to hear willow flycatchers. You have a couple different flycatchers that breed in Indiana in the summer, but willow flycatcher in terms of Kankakee sands. And it's an easy sound to learn. I think that's another reason I put it on here. It's a small little bird, but they love, they're loud and proud. They love to be perched on a little, top of a little tree, top of a little birch, tree branch or whatever. And you're listening for Fitzview. And it's a pretty easy one to learn there. And again, they're not shy. And then this is in those flycatcher species, it's that sound that you're hearing for, because again, the bird, not a lot of different, things to look for in terms of looks, but you hear this Fitzview. Take a listen. Make it a little louder here. So again, you're listening for that Fitzview, but your small little bird be perched, and you'll hear that quite a bit too. Last two, talk about two warblers. When you go down to Kankakee Sands, at least when I go down to Kankakee Sands, especially in the summer, I'm not thinking per se warblers, but you have two warblers that breed down there, and so they have, and these two birds breed throughout the entire state, so they may be common to some of you here. But the first one is a yellow warbler. The male on the left, you got this kind of reddish orange little streaks down the breast there, if you will, and then the female is just kind of a plainer yellow. And this, again, it's throughout the entire state. So wherever you are right now, you probably could easily hear this bird. And you're listening for sweet, sweet, sweet. I'm so sweet. Okay, but this one, when you're driving around and you find these little ditches that I'll talk about here in a moment, they definitely nest where the water and these little ditches are. So take a listen for sweet, sweet, sweet. I'm so sweet. Okay, and so then the other warbler that you're most likely going to encounter, but again, now yellow warblers, I will say, definitely tend to be seen more. They definitely are not shy birds, in my opinion. They'll kind of come out in the open there and look at you, but definitely maybe a little more shy one is our last bird that I'm going to talk about here is the common yellowthroat. And again, this breeds throughout the entire state, pardon me, but you'll definitely hear them well before you see them. They do pop out to investigate. The male's got that bandit look there, that black mask there, and then female's definitely just kind of a simple looking bird there, if you will, but definitely still has the yellow throat. But this one, it's a fairly common warbler, but you're listening for that witchy witchy witch. And so let's take a listen for witchy witchy witch.
Common yellowthroat.
And again, you'll hear that as they're kind of more secretive bird, but every so often they do pop up to kind of check out their surroundings, if you will. And so those are the kind of the 18 what I would call specialty species, or definitely species if you go down there to find them. So the question is now, how do you find these birds? If here's this big property,
Common yellow.
the property, as we said here, is you're talking really 8,400 acres of land there. And so how do you bird it? And so first thing you're going to find out when you're driving down US 41, before you kind of get to the town of Morocco, but you do go through Lake Village, and you're going to start, see the signs. And this is a good representation of the property, where there are paved roads, but a lot of the roads are gravel roads, and the gravel roads are great because they're not as frequently traveled by people. So you can stop, pull over on the side of the road. But you're looking for this kind of prairie here, if you will, and you got these different grasses at different heights. You're looking for these ditches, as you drive a road. Oh, there's a ditch. Birds love water. And so any kind of ditch, any kind of moving water, little stream, puddle, if you will, you always want to check those out for your different birds, especially like your warblers and so forth, those two I just talked about. And then bison are there. I'm not going to spend a whole lot. You can have a whole other talk on the bison that have been introduced there. I think they have over 100 and some bison now roaming the area, but we'll talk about that in a second. But this is kind of what you're looking for. This is kind of the view as you have this property here all in green. And there's really, I'll be honest, there's no perfect way to bird. But I do want to say is that it's a driving kind of birdie. Yes, there are trails. If you can kind of see up here in this Conrad Preserve, and then in Unit B, kind of see this yellow, and there's even one by the office. There are some trails, but it's not a place like I'm going to go take a walk around. It's you drive, and all those little P's there, those are parking spots. And so there's no perfect way. Now, the more you go there, you kind of find out, oh, this certain bird likes this certain spot. So you kind of learn where to go. Now, if I were going to go there, and I'm going to go there Saturday, you're going to go down US 41, at least where I'm coming from. And to me, the best place to start is actually at the office. One, the office has a porta potty. So if you have to go to the bathroom before you start birding, the office is sometimes open with the pandemic. I don't know how the hours and so forth are now, but there is a porta potty. And so you can use the bathroom. And even from there, I mean, you just stand at the office and there's a parking lot, nice sized parking lot. You're going to hear your dick sissels. You're going to hear your eastern meadowlarks. Actually, barn swallows nest at the office underneath the little overhang on the office building there. So you'll have barn swallows and killdeer. And there's even a little loop there that you can take. It's a real short loop there that you can walk. But you get a lot of birds just going to the office and just sitting there and listening and enjoying the property there right off of US 41. And then what I would do is once you leave that office, you go south. And you can see down at the bottom here, if you can see that, it does say County Road 225 North. And this I just pulled up from the Nature Conservancy website here. And you either pick, am I going to go take a right, go and head west, or am I going to take a left and head east? You can't go wrong either way. It doesn't matter which way you want to start. But I typically start south and work my way north. If I start on the east side, then I'll eventually make my way to the left side. They does have these, you can see here, this birding overlook. A lot of different species. It's a pretty small parking lot though, but they've kind of this raised concrete platform to look over a little bit of a wetland there. But you can park there. I'll talk about the bison viewing area here in a moment. That's actually a pretty good birding spot it's become. But you're just driving, and as you can see, you got these. It's a grid. You're going east or west. You're going north or south, and then you're just parking at these various spots. You get out. If it's a gravel road, I've never had a problem. You know, you can even pull over a little bit. They give you enough space, even on the gravel road, to pull over and stop and get out and listen. You don't want to do that. There are a couple roads. There's 200 here that goes north-south. That's a paved road. You don't want to pull over on that road. Heavily trafficked. But these more country, gravel roads. And I throw this out here. You don't want to not visit what's up here. It's actually part of the nature preserve. This Conrad Savannah Nature Preserve. You do want to visit that. And not that you have to walk the trail, but it's actually a little bit more. It's got two things going for it. It's got a little bit of a wooded lot, meaning you could get like yellow-breasted chat, blue grosbeak, and so forth. But what I've always had a lot of success is this little, you can kind of see this little road that goes through. It's gravel lark sparrows. And I've had the best chance of lark sparrows here. So it's not technically, Kankakee Sands, if you will, but it's still Unit A, as you can see there. And once you take, you head there and you just kind of drive this gravel road, lark sparrows are very common. Again, along with everything else. But I've had the most success there for lark sparrows. So you just want to drive and stop, slowly make, if you will. And what you're looking for are signs like this. This is parking D, it's for Unit D. And this actually is a pretty little, it's a good spot. And if you want to look at anything, and I'll go back a second here, right here, Unit D. So here's our office down here. And up here is Unit D. This is a great, because it's got three things going for it. You got the prairie, so you're surrounded by the Kankakee Sands prairie. You got this ditch, and if you can kind of look on this, on the right-hand side, this paved road. Again, heavily trafficked road. I mean, it's 200. You don't want to just, you got to be very careful on this road. You're not going to park on the road, but there's a parking lot right here, kind of the bottom right-hand corner of this photo here. And you'd park there, and you can walk along the side of the road. You got to be careful, looking for traffic. But as you can see, this bridge, the bridge is over this ditch. And so you'll have different swallows, northern rough-winged swallows you'll have there, barn swallows, you'll have your warblers, and you'll have these different birds along with the prairie, the dick sissels, eastern meadowlarks and such. But then it's got this tree line. And if there's ever a good place for me to find orchard oriole and blue grosbeak, is in this tree line. And even actually north of the tree line, this is actually looking south, this photo, north is another kind of set of short vegetation kind of bushes, if you will, great again for your Orchard Oriole Blue Gross Peak. So for Unit D, parking lot D is definitely a place I would stop if you were there. Another place you'd want to go is the bison viewing area. Now, the bison themselves, again, it's a whole other talk in itself here. They are in basically almost the entire Unit K. I mean, they're probably some off-limit places like the office, but they're in Unit K is where they're going to be. That's where they're going to be. And so you technically could drive any of this rectangle of Unit K and see the bison. But the good thing about the bison viewing area, it's actually been very productive for birds. And as you can maybe see in the photo, it has another porta potty there. So if you have to go to the bathroom, it's another spot. And it's this huge circle parking lot there. And it's got a little gravel path here. It's going to have a gravel path going. Technically, this would be the southwest going that way. But this, I mean, if you're going to go anywhere, you go down to Kankakee Sands, you drive around, but then stop here at the bison viewing area. Maybe you get lucky and see the bison if they're there. But again, that's entire Unit K they can be. But this, I would get out and walk around a little bit. Even if you just walk the circle of the parking lot and you walk the trail, you're going to get your kingbirds and grasshopper sparrows and field sparrows. The entrance road coming from the main road, drive it nice and slow. You'll have perching dick thistles. Henslow sparrows are going. So this little area, just driving in, driving out, park, walk around, can be very, very, very productive. And so with that, I think again, it's a good place to, you're going to go to the bison viewing area. And to me, that's kind of birding Kankakee Sands in the summer in a nutshell. So thank you. And I'll take any questions that I can answer, do the best that I can here. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you're able to learn a few things, take away a few things the next time you go to potentially Kankakee Sands. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't see any questions in the chat, but I will put another plug in. So that one trail, I feel like a lot of people don't go to it, where it's like B, like section B. It's also called like the Grace Teninga Trail. I actually really like that trail because it is one of the few places you can walk around really easy. And it's just mowed paths. And like, quite honestly, I don't think I've ever had a tick there, which is surprising to me because it's, it's a huge grassland. But I'd put a plug in for that. Like if people, if you want to get out and walk around a little bit, that's probably your best bet. And it's like a pretty nice trail. It's a huge loop. I don't do the whole loop, but that's where I can usually see henslows pretty well. And same thing, dick thistles and common yellowthroat and everything. But I'd encourage people to go to that little spot too, that B section of the map.
I could say too, it's like anybody with Matt, you can spend a lot of time, going to Kankakee Sands and, just every time you go there, you can find some new spot, new thing to go to, but it's definitely not a quick, potentially birding spot. Just even east and west half. If I've birded a couple hours easily on the east, and I still got to go to the west side. And you add trails, it can be definitely a good time spent, a nice morning spent.
Oh, Beth asked a question. I don't know if I know, but maybe you know. Like, are dogs allowed on the trails and the roads? I'm guessing along the roads would be fine, but I don't know the trails if TNC property.
I can't say for sure.
Yeah.
But definitely if you're, you park on a little parking lot, no one's going to stop you from walking your dog along on the road there, if you will. I don't see a problem with that. And it's nothing like, if you have not been there, it's nothing like I typically see. It's like, oh, this is kind of another unique place that, wow, this is here. It's like you forget that I'm from Lake County, Indiana, northern Lake County, Indiana, and you forget like, oh, this is a neat place.
I put the link to the brochure in the chat earlier, and actually I found it says pets must be leashed and under control at all times. So that sounds like it's okay as long as they're on a leash. Yeah, any other questions for Matt?
Matt, I got in late.
Yes.
Did you talk about the sedge wren?
I did not. No, not today. I mean,
good.
I will say they're around. I just haven't had a lot of luck with sedge wren at that property. Just
right
me personally.
Across on 400, right before you turn into the bison viewing area, is where I have heard and seen them.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
And I get the 400 right there by the bison viewing entrance. Yeah. And again, what Lois brings up, is that area right there by the Bison viewing. It can be productive for so many birds.
Lots, yeah.
You know, you just drive 400 north, you can maybe, you know, hear bobwhite, hear pheasant, and then you just turn and you slowly listen, and you never know what you're going to see or hear. Yeah, definitely. It's become a great little spot.
Yeah, I feel like probably all of us that go there at least more than a few times have like our tendencies now. Like I always go to that one trail that I said in Conrad for sure. I'd definitely go to that Conrad Station Prairie Road because the grasshopper sparrows will be along there and like the lark sparrows. I feel like I've had really good luck with the lark sparrows up there. Like I almost never miss them if I check that road.
I think we have a question from potentially Facebook. Yes, thank you. Are there any particular birds that have a cohabitat relationship with the bison? And really what I can say to this is almost all these birds have a cohabitat relationship. And actually, I was lucky enough to take part of a survey in early June, and where they kind of take you on the ultra terrain vehicles and the little places you can't go. And what they're actually doing, Nature Conservancy is doing, is it's part of a bigger study where they're doing bird monitors 3 times a year to see the effects of the bison on the birds. And so they basically do the 4, actually just K and L. K is where the bison unit is, and then L is across from US 41. So, and they're comparing north, south, these 4 quadrants, if you will, and to see what those, but I know these species and bison kind of go all hand in hand. And I know one bird that I would love to see there more often be like an upland sandpiper. And I know they're kind of, hoping that, with the upland sandpiper, that the bison do what they do naturally and the birds respond accordingly. So I would say a lot of these are definitely part of that, but it'll be interesting when they kind of look at the study I think it's a 10-year study, they said, to see are the bison, what effect are they having and what positive, hopefully positive, I'm sure they are. Good question, thank you. And I will say that if you have any questions, you can always contact us at Dunes-Calumet. We had a couple of lots of board members on today. If it's Lois or Matt or myself, I can definitely answer your questions. If you ever have a question about birding Kankakee sands, and this month, if I talked about summer, but there's a whole different world of birding Kankakee sands in the winter. And that is a whole other talk you could have if you're going down there for different raptors and short-eared owls. It's definitely a unique place to go for certain species. But if you have any questions, let us know.
Yeah, do you know, has upland sandpiper, it's been spotted on property, right? It's just really hard to find? Okay.
Yeah, it's been there, not as much as, say, seems like southern Newton County, Benton County, not as, for whatever reason. I've never personally seen one in Kankakee sands, but I know I've chased birds there unsuccessfully that have been seen. But yeah, I've never actually seen one there.
Yeah, same. I just hear people say that they look for them, and yeah, same thing. I've heard other spots south of there, almost more like in agricultural fields where people see them, but I've yet to find one anywhere around there.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I guess if there's not any other questions, we can go ahead and end our talk. So thanks, Matt, for great presentation. Lots of kind words here in the chat saying thank you and great presentation. So
Nice presentation.
yeah, thanks a lot.
And thanks everyone for tuning in, and hopefully you can join us for our we have our next program. Keep Facebook, we'll be posting Facebook, email, all that stuff, and thank you for everybody. Have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye.